Here he is, John Epping, skip of Northern Ontario. I'm sorry, but it still feels weird to say Northern Ontario because you've been an Ontario guy all your life. But hey, everybody moves around these days, so it's not a big shock. And coming off a big weekend, not playing, but in front of the camera with the microphone, doing some interviews at the Granite Club for our Curling Day in Canada show. I thought you were pretty good. Have you ever considered giving up on this curling nonsense and just being a broadcaster?
Well, yeah, and I think they were wanting me to come after your job. I heard, so it's no, that was a great experience for me, and all the credit to you and Lindsay and all the crew for what you do to put that kind of show on for the day. It's so impressive, and I got a lot of appreciation for you.
Well, the Granite Club is a pretty special place, and I know that's where you're working. You're the pro there, and it does have a great history. So it was nice to be there. You got a good history too. It's a little briefer, but you've put together this team, and your history over this season is pretty impressive. I don't know, like you seem to dominate on the smaller circuit, and there's nothing wrong with that because a win is a win, and you're collecting points, and you're now heading into the Montana's Brier, the 10th ranked team in the world, which is pretty impressive. I mean, just tell me how it feels to have put this team together and to get to where you are now.
Yeah, I think I'm very fortunate that the boys believed in kind of the schedule that I put together and kind of the plan that I envisioned for this team. I think as a newer team, and they didn't play a ton last year, and I think it was important for us to play a mix of, let's say, smaller events and then some of the top events. So we made sure to, I think, for to survive in all of those big top tier events would have been tough all year. So that's why we wanted to make sure that we added some small events too. And I think it puts a little bit of pressure on you too. You might be, the number one seed in that smaller event, but it's great to play and put the pressure on our guys and say, okay, we're the favorite here. Let's go out and play and make sure that we get the job done. And I think that's what the guys did a great job of.
And a win is a win, right? I mean, it doesn't matter that some of those you guys weren't the only sort of what I would consider A-list team in some of those smaller spiels. There were a lot of international teams, and it wasn't. I mean, it may not have been the Grand Slam circuit, but it was certainly pretty impressive in those ones that you were winning.
Well, exactly. And I mean, when you say A list, we were 39th in the world at the time too. So I'm not sure people were thinking we were on the A list. So I mean, that's what we felt that we needed to do to grow and to kind of get our feet wet as a team and gain points for the pre-trials. And we were hoping just to give ourselves a chance to get to the Grand Slams next season. And it just so happened that we had a great run that allowed us to get into the last slam and hopefully, fingers crossed, we're in good shape for the last one.
All right, so we're off to the Montana's Brier. I know as we're taping this, I think you're like leaving the next day. And what are your expectations? You're kind of a veteran in the Brier. You've played a few times before. These guys have played. I think they've all played a little bit, but just give me what your sense of the team is right now as you head to Kelowna.
Definitely a lot of excitement for Tanner and Jacob. This is their second Brier. They were at the one in London with Darren Moulding, and for shockingly, this is Ian's first Brier, which it really surprises me as he's just such a great player, and we're all thrilled for him, and I know he's excited to get to play in the big show, and for us, I think the big goal and that I have for this team is that we just play well. We can leave next week after whenever we come home and just say, we had a great week and played to our abilities, and that's what's key. I mean, when you get into a field like this, you can play great and lose games. I just think for us, it would be tough for us to come back and say, we just didn't play very well this week.
So you get in there, but I mean, you obviously have probably looked at the schedule, you know who you're going to play, first, second, third game, whatever. I mean, do you have a strategy of how the week maps out, or do you take it game by game and performance by performance?
Yeah, I mean, it's the old saying, it's the process, shot by shot. We can't look ahead. I mean, I think, we all know that that's a hard thing to do when you're a competitive athlete playing in a big event. You're going to be, thinking about your record and where you want to be and, maybe the final of the following Sunday. But, for us, I think, especially with the help of bringing in Mike Harris for this event, I think that'll be great for us just to stay in the moment, stay in each game, and I think he'll do a great job in can helping that. And then hopefully I'm hoping that my kind of veteran and leadership and experience will help us throughout the week as well.
All right, let's cover a couple things here. First of all, broom. I'm not calling it a broom gate because John Cullen has that nailed down. I think he's got a private word on that one, but I would say something like broom ha ha. And I know you you've been kind of in the thick of it, and rightly so, and for good reasons. But I know all the teams have. In fact, you were the guy who told me. Oh, I'm not supposed to say that, am I? You guys have told me that all the 18 teams have banded together. Where are we with this right now, and where do you want to be in at the start of next season?
Yeah, that's such a great question. Where we are is at a weird place as far as just agreements and talk amongst the teams to get to where we are for the Brier. And I know at the Scotties they did the same thing. I think when it comes to future, I want us to be back when it comes to the foam. I want us to be back to what originally was agreed upon with the specs years ago, and not when the press release came out from World Curling Federation in the summer that said that testing facility had passed foams that were 15 to 20% firmer than what was actually the original spec was supposed to say. I don't know why we moved the goalposts, let's say, or the speed limit to those new specs. I'm not sure why we said, okay, well, no, we need to go back to what the original agreement was, or the original spec was. So I don't quite understand that, why we did that, or why World Curling Federation went that way. But I think in the end, there's still a lot of testing to do. I think there's a lot of, not even foam. I think we need to look at how the broom is manufactured. I think that needs to be looked at. And I guess better now than next year at the Olympics. But can we get stuff done before before that next year, which is going to be insanely important for everybody.
Do you think it'll be more difficult to get consensus like we have at the Scotties and the Brier for brooms than at the Olympics with all sorts of international countries and some that may be a little more disadvantaged, let's say, than some? I mean, there's a little more haves and have-nots out there.
I definitely do. And I think looking at the World Championships, whoever wins the Brier and the Scotties, be interesting to see what happens at the Women's Worlds. You can't, the Olympic spots in the next Olympics are on the line, right, for all the countries to get their spot in the Olympics. So, which a lot of teams don't have other than the hosts. So, I think that's what's going to be interesting. And I think Canada, and that's what I'm focused on, is going to have to be prepared to use maybe whatever have every kind of weapon in the bag when they go to the World Championships.
Yeah, it's not easy to try and figure this thing out. I mean, it wouldn't be curling if you weren't sort of scratching your head at some point during the season with the rules and everything. It just seems like we sort of take one step forward and one step back, and we're sort of in the same spot in a lot of places. Do you get that sense a little bit? Not just with brooms, but with all the rules?
Yeah, I don't know why what's up with our sport right now. And it just seems to, yeah, well, think about it, back to what, 2016. Before that, you could have put whatever in your broom head pretty much and used it on the World Curling Tour. You and I could have went back to your garage and built a broom head and used it. And that's, to me, is absurd with what is on the line in our sport and how big our sport's getting and growing. And and it's unfortunate too that it always seems to come from the players and on the way up. Like, I don't know how in the last 6, 7, 8 years, even after we had agreed to to a spec for foam density, why aren't we still why aren't the top dogs still looking at where the future of curling is going and being innovative and knowing, are we going to get to the spot where it's going to get too good again, and paying attention to this, and that just blows my mind.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, changing subject just a quick back to the Brier. At the Scotties this year, I noticed that the ice was a little trickier. The rocks ice combination of. I know that by the end of the week, the players had kind of figured it out. Is that a good thing? I kind of enjoyed it a little bit. Maybe I'm a sadist, but I kind of enjoyed it a little bit to see them struggle a little bit because in a lot of times we go into events now where the ice is everything is just perfect, and maybe that's good because then it's shot making is at the A list. But do you think the ice maybe being a little bit off or the rocks being a little bit off can be a good thing for curling?
I mean, I think that's a really, really good question. So I think the ice conditions, I think what would maybe frustrate the players, and I'm speaking on behalf of myself. I shouldn't, I guess, speak on behalf of the players, but I know what I find frustrating is that if you throw a rock down the same spot twice,
Right.
kind of similar and similar throws, and you get different results. I think that's where it becomes something that we're not a fan of, or I'm not a fan of. But tough ice conditions where it might be straighter on the one side, curls a little more here. Yeah, that's okay. I think that's what we're used to. Are all rocks going to be the same? No. So I mean, that's up to us to figure it out. I just think that it's it is tricky too, though. When you're predetermined rock colors at the Brier and Scotties in these events, and if one set of rock, there one set has six bad rocks and two good ones, well, and the other set has almost all great rocks. Well, yeah, I'm not sure that's quite fair to be given those rocks for as long as everybody gets a chance to throw them one game. But it's I think there's different ways to look at it. But yeah, I mean. I just, as long as the ice is consistently the same, however that is, I think that's what the players, mainly want.
Okay. And final question for you. Now you're representing Northern Ontario for the first time. Have you learned how to do the moose call with the string and the can and the
So I have not, but Jake has promised that if we bring the right equipment, he will build some for us, and he will do a little tutorial because all our fans and including my family are going to have to learn to do the moose call.
it wouldn't be a Briar without hearing the moose call. I just love that. That's out there. John, we wish you the best of luck and continued success and we'll be watching for you in Kelowna.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Bob. Appreciate it.